What is up everyone, welcome back to another Minion Masters video. Hope you're enjoying your day, and this video is gonna be oriented towards beginners, so new players to the game, but anyone that has been playing this game for quite some time can actually get some hopefully valuable content from this. So I'm probably not gonna leave any timestamps below for the tips, because I really wanna make this video like jam-packed and give you 20 tips in as short amount of time as possible. So with that in mind, subscribe if you haven't done that yet and like the video if you end up learning something from it, and let's get started. So tip number one would be simply to read all the masters, minions and spells when you start playing the game. The game definitely has a lot of content, and if you're new, like, you can click here to see your master, and then like simply clicking on it, it's gonna pop this up and you can read everything about every master here in the detail, which is pretty nice if you want to learn. Also, when it comes to minions, right click any minion or card, anything, and it's gonna give you a lot of details about it. So it's really important to know what you're dealing with here. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to learn it in first few days, but you're going to learn it as you go, as you progress. But it's really important to know some stuff. And the most important stuff that you need to know is, well, that's tip 1.1, which is get to know every minion's masters strengths and weaknesses. So you gotta know that, for example, this master, his attack speed is fairly low but deals decent damage, which means that he's gonna have a trouble killing like packs of minions, while Volko is gonna be able to kill a pack of scrats with a single hit in many situations, but he can't even hit flying minions. So you can use that against Volko. And when it comes to minions, you definitely should learn like all the spells and pretty much what all minions do. And that's where we come to tip number 1.2, which is know spell damage by heart. And why is that important? Simply so you know when you can like confidently end the game with a couple of spells. So this one is gonna do 40, this is gonna do 80, this is gonna do 100 on each hit, 170 here, and this one is gonna do 600 to minions and 300 to masters. So just right click and it's gonna say there. So if an enemy has 300 health and no way of like negating direct damage to the tower, I know I can just press this on the tower and he's gonna die and I'm gonna win. So that's very nice for you to know and like to be aware that you can actually use that. Tip number 1.3 would be to learn all the counters and try to deny as much from your enemy as you can simply by knowing the counters. I have some examples here. For example, if your enemy plays blood imps, like just plain naked, let's say it like that, blood imps, and you have a cleaver, for example, then you know each hit a cleaver does to this is gonna deal a huge amount of damage to your enemy's tower, and you know if you do that you're gonna get punished. For example, this minion, it's gonna take your melee attackers are gonna take poison, so he can kill one of these for free basically. So you gotta learn all the things. These are some minions that are pretty good counters, like this is a good counter to all ground minions. This is a good way to like dodge melees, but this can't hit flying minions, so you gotta know that. This is also a very good counter to all melees. This is a good tank buster, good counter to melees. This is a good counter to all the tanks, and so on and so on. And for example, you know that cleaver also has high damage but incredibly slow attack speed. So if you have a group of minions, for example, if you have like these guys round up around them, they can beat him up pretty easily. He can't kill them. And then you use like 2 mana to kill 6 mana worth of stuff, which is great for you if you can pull that out. And this also ties into why knowing spell damage by heart is important. So for example, you know that Daggerfall is gonna kill this, this and this. So you know that if you use like Daggerfall that costs 3 mana to kill this and hit the tower, then that's definitely a win for you. And if you use 3 mana Daggerfall to kill this or this, then you're 1 up on mana, like you gained something. And when it comes to these, like this, this and this, like you can check the health out of them. So this is gonna get killed by fireball, these are gonna get eliminated by fireball, these both are gonna get killed by one single Daggerfall that costs 3 mana. So it's definitely a great hedge. While minions like these, like this is gonna need more than a fireball to die, and you need to know that simply because like don't expect one fireball to kill it by itself. So like you don't count on using 4 mana to get rid of her and then all of a sudden she's still alive. I could give way more examples, but I don't want to make this video that long. I have videos on like minions in detail and also some deck building tips. I'm gonna put them in the description below so you can check them out, but I'm gonna keep this video a bit more lightweight. Tip number 2 would be to try drafting if you can't learn all the minions and everything, and if you don't have cards to actually grind. So draft, you're actually gonna get a few free drafts in the beginning, so you can use those to learn some cards and also hopefully get some rewards. Because if you win 7+ wins, then it's gonna be worth it even if you paid 750. And 10+ wins, they usually yield great rewards. So these are the rewards directly from Gamepedia, and they're accurate, so you can just pause here and read through them if you really want to know exactly how much you're gonna get for each winning draft. So if you've done all that and some time has passed and you still can't build a functional deck, you can actually click here to the leaderboard to actually see what other people that are like top players in both battle, team battle, and like pre-made team battle are using to be on the top of the leaderboard, and you can like get some inspiration from that. That can be pretty useful tip. Tip number 4 is use free mayhem tickets every time. So when these mayhems begin, you're gonna get one free entry every time. Like drafts, you're gonna get free entries and they're gonna go away later. But like mayhem, they're gonna give you free entry every new mayhem. And that's a great way to get free rewards for simply just playing mayhem. And also mayhem has great rewards in general. So like playing it up to till you get like 10 or 20, even 8 wins, it's definitely a great idea. Tip number 5, when it comes to obtaining gold, check back daily to come and see the quests and special quests. So it says now come back tomorrow for a new daily quest. Yes, you're gonna get each day a new quest, and you can have up to 3 here. So if you have 3, you're not gonna get any more. That also applies to special quests. But for special quests, like if you can just roll one out, new ones are gonna keep coming once you like solve them. So definitely come back every day to see what the quest is, to make sure you actually do it. Because sometimes you can have like a quest that says like do team battles, and you happen to not play team battles, so you're not gonna get gold because you like haven't played team battles. Also, when it comes to like every league gives you new reward, and you can get a reward for battle, then team battle again, and also when it comes to pre-made team battle, there's a separate rank for that. So make sure you like get use of all of those to get as many rewards as possible. Tip number 5.1 is click on the battle pass to see if you have a chest available, and simply get 3 wins each day to like use all of the battle pass chests. So you're gonna get these free pass rewards no matter what you do, as long as you keep opening the chests. And even without opening the chests, if you keep playing, you're gonna get some XP here. But chests, they give you really a huge amount of XP, so it's important like to use them up, because you can have a maximum of 3 chests, and they're also like not gonna pile up anymore after that. Tip number 6 is join a guild to get the best what the guild has to offer, and there's a lot of like rewards, look at here, that you can get. I've recently changed the guild when I made this new one, so like that's why these aren't unlocked, but from the previous guilds I've definitely gained a lot. And by just like going into this conquest, like using these cards and like playing conquest matches, you can get this stuff for basically free, which is pretty nice. Tip number 7, the best way to use gold in my opinion is simply waiting for like tokens to appear here on sale. So you can get like 5 tokens for I think 4750 or 450 or 4,500, I'm not sure. So anyway, they appear on the discount. Now I know that in the beginning you might have to like keep buying these. I actually buy them pretty often because I do huge openings, so I still buy them for 1,000. But whenever you see like power tokens on a discount, just buy them, because that's in my opinion the best way to use your gold. And tip number 8 would be the best use for rubies, which is battle pass. So this, all the battle pass, the bottom part is locked, and then you have to spend like rubies to buy it. And that's the best use of rubies that you can ever have, because look at all the rewards that you get. It's definitely great. And you even get rubies in there, so that's essentially a discount. The cost of a battle pass has been 1,875 rupees for the last 3 battle passes, so I hope it's gonna stay around that, but it's definitely the best way to use your rubies, and so try to save up for that. Like when you click on the battle pass, it says when the next pass is gonna be there, so make sure you manage to pile up your rubies up to that amount, so you have it on the day the new pass comes, and then you can buy skins or pretty much anything else for the other amount of rubies that you have. Tip number 9. All the season tokens that you have at the end of the season are gonna turn into power tokens. So they're not gonna go to waste if you don't use them. So if you like have all of these cards or don't want them and want the other cards instead, you can just wait till the end of the season and this number is just gonna translate here. Tip number 10 is when it comes to battles, generally just waiting at the beginning of the battle for as long as possible is good practice. Why? Because then you force your enemy to make a move. And we've already talked about counters, like there's a lot of counters in the game. So if you see that your enemy is gonna open with a cleaver, and you have like these in your hand, like I said earlier, then you can use the 2 cost minion to kill a 6 cost minion, which is great. So just waiting and hoping that your enemy plays something that's easy to counter can be a pretty good reward for you. So why not use it? Tip number 11 would be that you can actually have like 10.9 mana if you didn't know. So your mana bar is gonna fill up to 10 and then it's gonna keep filling up to 11, and only the second it reaches 11, that one additional is gonna be lost. So even if you have 10 mana, you can still wait a bit. So for example, if you want to use the card bets and then play something afterwards that costs 7, you can do that almost instantly without using 1 mana. Just don't mess it up, because if you mess it up, you lost that 1 mana. Tip number 12, and this applies to pretty much all like games that deal with minions or like heroes that some of them deal a lot of damage and some of them are tanky, is try to set up a front line, so minions like something like this in front of minions that deal a lot of damage. So if you set up, let's say, one of these and then pull up her, the other minions are gonna aggro whatever is closest to them, so they're gonna hit this first. And this thing, it has a lot of health, but it really doesn't deal a lot of damage. Look at the DPS, it's basically nothing. But if you can put her behind, she's gonna have some DPS that's even AoE in a lot of range, so she can kill a lot. And if you put like her, for example, then she's gonna have insane DPS on a single target. But her 200 health doesn't matter all that much if the enemy cannot target her, especially if you put like something that has 800 health in front of her, for example. So try to set up your like minions, combo them in a way that like they benefit from the synergy. Again, I'll put a link in the description about deck building. It's been designed for draft, but all of that stuff is in there, so if you need advice on that kind of stuff, there's definitely a lot. I've simply spoken a lot in that video, so you can check it out if you want more details on that. So the next tip would be to sometimes use your master to absorb the damage. So for example, in a situation like this, when there's a Colossus coming up, there's no like sense in playing a ground minion. For example, if I put these like not the stun lancers, because they're gonna stun it, they're a good counter, but if I put something in front of it, he's just gonna straight up kill it, so it doesn't make sense. I see a lot of people put ranged minions in front of melees, right in front of the tower, so they put them right here, and then whatever's coming up just kills them. When you can simply let the master absorb some of the damage, especially if you are full health like I am here, and then the ranged minion is gonna kill them. So place your ranged minion like here, and then enemy minion is gonna come and hit the tower, and your ranged minion is gonna kill them. So many people get that wrong, and I really don't get it why. Like, it's gonna mess you up a lot if you keep killing your minions for no reason. Tip number 13.1 would be scapegoat minions. So for example, in this situation, that's why I put this screenshot right here, you have a Colossus coming up and you have some of your minions dealing damage. Now, even if I didn't have these stun lancers, maybe I could have put like a 1 cost minion here and let the Colossus hit it. So Colossus has a very slow attack speed, so that's gonna like slow it down, delay it a lot. Cleaver is also a very good example. If they can hit something that's cheap for you, like it doesn't cost a lot, for example, you paid 3 mana for 10 scrats, and they hit only 1, like Colossus is gonna hit all of them, but Cleaver is gonna hit only 1. Like, you lost really not a lot of value, and Colossus got delayed. So you can use scapegoat minions if it's not ideal for your master to absorb the damage, simply because the enemy minion deals a high amount of damage. Tip number 15 is you can summon like packs of minions or any minions that have more than one, which is like one next to each other. You can summon them here in the middle, and one is gonna go this way and the other is gonna go this way, or like half of them are gonna go this way and the other half are gonna go this way. That way they can grab both bridges. So that's definitely nice for grabbing both bridges. And tip number 16 is don't ignore bridges. Bridges you should try to keep them blue as long as possible. So the bridge control is very important because you're gonna get this XP sooner, and then you're gonna get like all the master perks sooner. And we've already talked about how important it is to know what your master can do, and this lets your master do that sooner. So that's definitely a huge advantage, especially if your master depends a lot on the late game. Tip number 17 ties into that very nicely. So as you can see from this screenshot, you can actually see your enemy's XP. So you don't have to count it, like remember it or something like that. And that way you can know exactly when they're gonna get their spikes, which is sometimes very important, especially if the enemy is, for example, a Ravager. And then you know when he's gonna get his ally, and you can like prepare the minions in your hand and prepare everything, prepare your whole setup for the situation and counter that way easier. So just like look at your enemies here, and you can see yours also here. Just keep an eye out on it. Tip number 18 is another reason why I'm using exactly this screenshot, because it really illustrates a lot of points and it does try like controlling multiple bridges at once and pushing multiple bridges at once if possible. So for example, if I actually manage to place these stun lancers here and one hits this one hits this one, so they're both stunned, and I manage to kill them all and keep on going, the enemy has to use additional minions here to stop all of this. And this bridge is still under my control the entire time. So that's either gonna do one of the following: it's gonna force the enemy to grab that bridge, or it's gonna force them to ignore it, gaining me XP, which is great advantage. Also, you can like use what I said earlier, like make half of minions go this way, half this way, so you grab both bridges and have pressure on both of the lanes at the same time. So that way, if you happen to win on another one, the additional pressure on another one is gonna give you even more advantage. So try leverage that whenever you can. Also, you can use that as a hedge against fireballs. So if you see that you have fireball hazard, which I like to call it, which is a lot of the minions clustered up on one bridge or one side, you can send all of the other ones, if they are squishy, on the other side. That way a fireball won't kill them all, it's gonna heal just half, which is bad but not as bad. Tip number 19 is try to remember what cards your opponent has at their disposal and when they have them in their hand. So in the first few minutes you're gonna get the idea of like most of the cards which your opponent has, and also like a lot of the decks, I mean at least in draft or when there's like not one dominant card that changes the whole mechanic, a lot of the decks they are centered around like 4 or 3.5 to 4.5 mana. That's where like most of the decks are. Some are gonna be cheaper, some are gonna be like way more expensive. That doesn't matter that much, because you're gonna, in a few minutes, you're gonna get to see how fast your enemy can rotate their cards. So you can get a basic idea based on what you have, like how far your rotation has come, what the enemy actually might be holding in their hand. So for example, here I have a setup where I have these stun lancers in my hand at the moment the Colossus is on the battlefield. So if I use them here to kill this Colossus, and that succeeds, the idea would be to keep that like minion in my hand for the Colossus. So if the enemy doesn't use the Colossus and doesn't use like a cleaver or something else that they are pretty good against, I'm not gonna use them at all, simply because they're a good counter to that, and I'm gonna hold them just to make sure I stop that I know the enemy has and can use against me. So when you know you have a pure counter, pure hedge against something, just hold it and wait for the enemy to play that so you can counter it. Tip number 19.1 is that way like that I just explained, by holding the cards you can actually alter the flow of the cards that's coming in. So sometimes you'll have the counters, but it's gonna be like flipped. It's not gonna be in your hand the moment that Colossus is summoned, for example, or something like that. So you have a card that can counter another card, but every time your enemy plays it, you don't really have it in your hand, so it's not really useful. So that way you need to stop and just fix the order of the cards by simply holding it in your hand and waiting for the enemy to play it. I see a lot of people like having exactly a situation like this, where I have a Colossus and they have stun lancers, but they never use them against my Colossus. Like, why not? Because they played it like earlier simply to grab a bridge, and it gives you much more value to just hold it steady and wait for that counter. Tip number 19.2 is there are some things that can actually betray the enemy and tell you what they have in their hand, and that are the new Shrooms that have been implemented. So whenever you see Shrooms pop up, you know that that's the moment that a card that uses those Shrooms, for example the 10 costs 2+2 monkeys, whenever you get them in your hand, you're gonna see the new Shrooms pop up. And when you see the new Shrooms pop up for your enemy, then you are precisely sure that right now they got that card in their hand, and you can use that to your advantage. And 20th and final tip is, well, it applies to actually a lot of the games that like use an elo system like this one does, and that's like pretty much a system that makes you grind, and you lose points when you lose and win points when you win. And after every season reset, what happens is the guys that were like top tier, for example, let's say grandmasters and contenders in this game, they're gonna drop to like platinum or diamond. And if you start playing heavily right at the beginning of the season and get all the way to platinum or diamond, you might be facing those like the best players in the game. Whereas if you just waited like 10 days or something like that, 15 days, I don't know, depending on how long that particular season lasts, those players, they're gonna climb way higher up, and the competition that's gonna be like hanging around diamond and platinum, they're usually not gonna be as good. Like, it doesn't always work, but in most situations, simply just waiting till like the last days of the season might be a way for you to progress, like grind easier. Like, you definitely want to leave a few days left so you can actually like put in the time and do the grind. But that can be a good tip to like simply fight against weaker players on the same elo level, which hopefully it's gonna help you. And I hope you got value out of this video. If there are some tips that are pretty obvious but I left them out, just let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it really helped you. So subscribe if you enjoyed it, and also like the video, and I'll see you pretty soon, so enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye!